Do you mind, for context for those of us who aren't familiar with, do you mind sharing what did you get paid for something like that?
I don't remember the exact like dollar amount, but I was doing pretty well for an 11-year-old, and definitely kind of like messed with my head financially, just like from like making that much at a young age, not thinking I would need to work maybe as hard like later in life or like whatever it might be, and then realizing that money sort of like had an end point. But of course there's also like residuals, and it's like a weird sort of income element that I've been like dealing with over the years, I feel like.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, at that age, do you even have any context of what that kind of money means and what it could possibly do? Like, how did you work with that?
No, I think my parents did a good job at like, helping me understand how to like invest it. They invested it really well for me, and I still like sort of like have some of the money like available for like whatever I might need it for, whatever it is. Yeah, I didn't like blow it all right away, which was really nice. They were good about that.
You had some control.
Yes, a little
Nice.
bit. Mostly because of my parents. Yeah.
And our producer wants us to ask, any memorabilia that you happen to steal from School of Rock? Or get to keep?
Steal, not so much. They gave us like a bunch of stuff afterwards. I remember I got like this huge box in the mail with like all this stuff. Like some of the stuff was from the set. They were like, we think you might like this. And then some of it was like the merch from the movie and like the albums and all those kind of things.
Yeah. So I think childhood stars kind of, it's good and bad, right? Because you hear the stories about, Judy Garland, Drew Barrymore, and they definitely had their challenges. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more for what it's like to have that kind of wealth at such a young age? What was that experience like? That guttural feeling?
Yeah, the wealth was like one factor, but I think a lot of the trouble for me came with like a lot of the mixed messaging. I had this 4 months where I was on set, and then we had the press tour where I felt really special and unique and celebrated for who I was and like everything I was bringing to the table. But then I like went back to middle school after, where like middle school boys are not as nice, and I felt like I had to go from standing out to fitting in, and it was just like hard to like navigate the different sort of messaging I was getting, like, you're great for this, you're not great for this. And at a young age, I didn't really know how to internalize that. Specifically, I was the gay kid in the movie, and I got a lot of backlash for that. And that was kind of hard because I didn't even know what being gay meant at the time and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then any reason for why it didn't necessarily translate being on stage and being in the movie into like middle school? I would think that like the high school and the middle schoolers would be like, oh, you're the famous kid is next to me in math.
Well, it was tough because it wasn't the famous kid. They were like, it's the gay kid. And I was 11, and I went back to school, and I was like, I don't want to be called gay, because from all I knew at the time was it was a bad thing, like back in the day. Like in 2003, if you called someone gay in middle school, it was supposed to be like an insult, essentially. So I was like, I don't want to be associated with that word. And it gave myself like a lot of internalized homophobia that I had to deal with at a later age. And yeah, it was all hard.
So when you were looking around at your peers with all the wealth that they were getting, obviously dealing with the same movie, did you learn any lessons from them, maybe, to how to manage your money?
I don't know. I think like those conversations came, like, we're all friends still. It came like later in life, like who's who's out of money, who still has their money, that kind of thing. Like, I don't know. We've gotten more candid about it. But I think back, I was just a kid. I didn't really know what I was doing with my money. I think I felt a certain sense of spoiled, to be honest, because I was like, wow, I made all this money doing this movie and blah, 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 blah. And then, later in life, I learned, like, oh, I still have to work and all these kinds of things. Yeah. So,
yeah, you hope that it sets you up for life.
Right.
I think that's maybe one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have is that you're in a movie that's really, it was a really successful movie, right? So that everybody's like, you're set for life.
No, I'm not.
That's not true.
If they made a sequel, I might be, but I'm still waiting for that check. So.
20 years later.
Yeah.
25. Let's add a couple more
come
years.
on, Mike White. Get back to the pen and paper.